Hello, everybody. It's great to be back again. I have a special guest with us today. He's been a policeman for 99 years, 30 years. But he has so much to say about his experiences and what have you that it's going to be really interesting to just find out exactly some of his experiences that he's had. As we talked before, he and I, he released to me a lot of the information that we're going to have here in this show. So let me introduce to you Mr. David Reimers in person.
Howdy.
Okay. Of course, this is our Flying Star, my radio station here, or television. My goodness, I'm old timer on this. But first, I'd like to ask you, you were how long again in the police force? Tell us that and what.
From 65 to 95, a little over 30 years.
Wow, wow. And the impressive thing that I got from you is you still ride a motorcycle. You're still on a motorcycle going zoom,
Every week
zoom.
I'm out making my living on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
After I retired, I got into funeral escorting. Perfect job for an old cop. You're still in uniform, you're on a black and white bike, and you have a tendency to slow people down on the freeway when you're on your way to a funeral. But you're helping families that need to get a bunch of cars to a cemetery or to a church and a cemetery. And local police won't do that. They're too afraid of the liability. So funeral escort companies have to carry huge insurance to do that. And I've been doing that for 23 years now.
Wow.
Done thousands of funerals.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be able to help families like that.
That's the neat thing, and as you said earlier too, it's fun to have a job where you enjoy it, and you sure enjoy this. And you said to me, you had 6 motorcycles. Wow, 6, what are you doing with 6 motorcycles?
That's what my wife wants to know.
Yeah, but the main one you have is the one you use, of course, for the funerals and the jobs that you have.
Yeah, that's a fairly new BMW R1200 police bike. The only thing we had to do is take the red and blue lights off the front and put all yellow lights all around.
Yeah.
And then you can be a funeral escort.
Well, you mentioned earlier too, one of the most exciting experiences for you were delivering babies. Tell us a little bit about that.
I didn't say it was exciting. I said it was the most terrifying thing I ever did, because you learn about all the things that can go wrong in childbirth. Fortunately, all 4 of mine went well. One was a little weird. The other 3 were all fairly standard, and one little baby boy got named after me. I was very touched by that.
Wow.
But yeah, that's a scary thing. I'd rather go to a bank robbery with automatic weapons involved than deliver another baby. But once you've done it, once you've caught a brand new human life in your hands, you develop a sense of ownership. This is my baby. I brought it into the world. But it's theirs, but you still have a strong attachment to them. But it is a scary thing until it's over and they're crying and they're okay.
Yeah. You served a long time as a policeman, and what are some of the most harrowing experiences that you have had as a policeman?
Well, during the 60s, we had all the Berkeley anti-war riots, where hundreds, if not thousands, of students would march down Telegraph Avenue or sometimes Shattuck Avenue downtown to protest the war. And of course, being a cop, they put us all in helmets and they sent us out there to prevent damage to nearby buildings. So the scariest part was one night we were marching up Telegraph Avenue. There were thousands of protesters in front of us. Now, 99% of protesters are peaceful protesters. But whenever you get a crowd, you'll always get some knucklehead who wants to throw rocks or bottles.
Yeah.
And you can't throw tear gas into a crowd of innocent people. You have to somehow go in and ferret them out. But we were marching up Telegraph. Berkeley Police was the front row. Right behind us was Alameda County Sheriff and Highway Patrol. And we all saw a burning something come flying, looping through the sky toward us.
Wow.
And it was a Molotov cocktail, and it hit about 10 feet to my right and burst into a huge ball of flame. It missed all the Berkeley cops, but it got the poor highway patrolman, and it just covered him with fire. Fortunately, our 4th row was a bunch of cops with fire extinguishers, because we knew to expect this. And they put that chippy out really quickly, but he still got burned pretty badly.
Wow.
In just seconds. But you know, that's one of the scarier things.
Yeah.
Had one guy come at me, he smashed a beer bottle and said, I'm going to cut you. And one of the 3 times in my career I had to draw a gun, I said, guns beat bottles, drop it. He did.
He did.
But
wow.
yeah, you have interesting experiences in the police.
Sure.
All of us go down the street and we'll see flashing lights and yellow tape, you know, police line, do not cross. And you see all these police cars, fire engines, ambulances down the street, and you wonder what's happening. Well, I was one of the guys down there inside the yellow tape, and I knew what was happening.
You knew what was.
And it can be very exciting. It can be scary. Things that involved children were the things that bothered me the most.
Yeah.
If I saw an abused child, a beaten child, an injured child, even if it was a traffic accident,
Yeah.
still you have this horrible feeling for the child, because children trust the adult world around them to protect them. And when something goes wrong, you know, how do you explain?
Yeah.
There have been terrible things that have happened. There have been wonderful things that have happened. But it's a fascinating career. If you want to do a job where you don't do the same thing day after day, try looking up the police department. It pays well, the benefits are good, and you'll never have a dull day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you know, I've talked to different people who have been in the police force, and my father was a county sheriff himself, and my uncle was a sheriff also. He had a bad situation where a guy threw a rock at him, knocked him down, hit his head on the curb, and he killed him. And that was so sad, you know.
Yeah.
Here we were so proud of our uncle and so forth, and all of a sudden something like that happens. And my father, you know, he was really hurt by that, because there was his loving brother and so forth. So, and being in the police force, that's sure, it's the same, similar thing anyway, was tough.
Yeah, and I've been to probably dozens of police funerals around the state where police officers did get killed on duty.
Yeah.
And police officers everywhere are a family. We share a bond that people don't understand outside the police department, but we are all a bunch of men and women who trust our lives to the cop next to us.
Yeah.
And when something happens to one of us, it's like something happening to a member of your family. It feels awful. That young policewoman who was murdered for no reason at all just a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
She's brand new on the job. Only a couple of weeks, and some idiot just decided to go out and start shooting.
Yeah.
It's horribly sad, and going to the funerals is horribly sad. You see the wives, you see the children. They go to the cemetery and they're handed a folded flag. But there's no words you can really say.
It's really a toughie, yeah.
We don't get a warranty. We don't get 100,000 miles guaranteed us.
Yeah.
We get what we get, and it can be days, weeks, months, or decades. But you live life to the fullest every day and don't give up.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way. Well, you know, one of the things that that I really want to ask is, in your experience when you first became a policeman, what kind of drove you into that? What made you think, gee, I want to be a policeman? What was it?
I was born and raised right outside New York City, and I had never developed the least interest in being a policeman back there. But I came to California. I was in the Navy. I got out of the Navy, went home, packed up, moved back to California. I immediately got a job selling frozen meat over the phone to housewives with freezers. But every night I went home and I opened the Chronicle and I looked through all the want ads because I wanted to find something interesting, something that paid better. And one day I saw this ad. It said, Patrolman, Berkeley Police, $660 a month to start, requires 2 years college. Well, that ad blew me away. We did not have college-educated cops back in New York. And $660 a month was huge in 1965.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know, if I try it out, maybe I can eat regularly and pay rent. But, you know, I don't want to be a cop. But I'll try it out for a little while if I can. I took the test. It was a 3-hour written exam.
Wow.
And then you have to go through a physical agility test, a psychiatric interview, all kinds of interviews and oral boards. And then one day, they hired me.
Just like
I was astounded. Out of the 100 guys in that classroom taking that 3-hour exam, 2 of us passed.
Wow.
2 out of almost
Just
100.
2. Wow.
So I was really tickled and pinked and surprised that they hired me. But after 2 weeks at the Berkeley Police Department, I realized this is not a job. This is not a temporary holding place. This is a career.
Yeah.
And I stayed for a little over 30 years. And I loved every day of it. My daughter years ago said to me, she said, "Dad, all my friends tell me they hate their jobs. You're the only person I know who comes home every night and says, 'Man, I love my job.'" She said, "I thought hating your job was normal, but you're just totally different from everybody I talked to." I said, "Well, you're talking to the wrong people."
Well, you know, one thing we talked about too, you got this illness. They said you had this cancer bit. Tell us a little bit about that. What transpired when you were told that and so forth?
It came, they took a test. They did a biopsy. And one day the phone rang. I was in the kitchen. My wife was taking dishes out of the dishwasher. And the doctor, I always use a speakerphone because I'm hard of hearing.
Right.
So he came over the speakerphone and said, "Yeah, Mr. Reimers, this is Dr. So-and-so, and I just got your lab results back, and you have cancer."
Boom.
Man, that's like being hit in the face with a little sledgehammer.
Wow.
My wife almost dropped a stack of dishes. And I said, What do we do now?" He said, "Well, you better make an appointment with an oncologist." So I went in, did further testing. I have little tattoos on my abdomen where they were going to do radiation. But after I did a little study on radiation, I decided I didn't want that.
Yeah.
My oncologist said, "Mr. Reimers, you have a tiny tumor of a very non-aggressive type. I guarantee you're not going to die of this cancer. You're going to be a very old man dying of something else before it ever reaches that stage." So this is 19 years later. It's never troubled me, and I don't do anything about it. I ignore it.
That's
I'm
awesome.
waiting for that old man dying of something else part to kick in.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. A great story, and well, for you, it's of course great. You know, it didn't invade your body, and you.
It hasn't spread at all.
Yeah.
I keep coming with, every year I have a PSA test, and it's prostate-specific antigen test. And they test your blood, and my PSA went down last year. So whatever I'm doing, and not eating meat and stuff like that, is maybe, hopefully, killing off the cancer, letting it die a slow, painful death, I hope.
Well, you mentioned something that kind of really interested me, you know, because how many people know this, you know? After you were told about the cancer, you cut down on meats, all meats and so. Tell us a little about that, what transpired there.
I learned that from various medical articles I read, that cancer cells love animal protein. And the more meat you eat, the happier your cancer cells are going to be, and the better they will grow. So I turned vegan for about 14 years. I didn't eat anything that came from an animal. It was entirely a plant-based diet.
Wow.
And I found it's pretty good. And you know, you can buy tofu squares. They make artificial chicken breasts that look and taste pretty much like chicken breasts, and you cover them with sauce and other veggies. You think you're having a chicken dinner, but you're having a tofu dinner. But I've heard a lot of bad things said about tofu, but that's from people who haven't tried it. They've just heard about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can live successfully. Now I eat some salmon, other fish, because my doctor said, "I know you're vegan and you don't like to eat animal stuff, but I want you to eat salmon because you need those omega-3 oils and you need them from fish, not from pills." I said, "Okay." So now I eat salmon and a few other things.
That's great. You enjoyed the heck out of it too.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't lose a lot of weight over it, but I enjoyed it.
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes, you know. Like you said, you've got a lot of muscle in there because then this is the other thing I wanted you to talk about a little bit. Your exercise routine. Every day, 7 days a week, you do specific.
7 days a week, I do a 1-hour program on the floor next to my bed. I have a mat set up. I do my 1,000 sit-up crunches, 500 side lifts, 500 other side, 500 back lifts, 20-pound dumbbells.
Yeah, stop a minute. Did you hear that? 1,500, 500. He doesn't fool around. Anyway, go ahead with what you were saying. I just had to react to that.
It keeps me in fairly good shape, but I've discovered that in spite of the numbers I do, it doesn't burn fat. You've got to go out and do something more aerobic, I guess. And I've got an artificial knee and an artificial hip, so I'm not about to go out jogging. I can't.
Right.
But I do what I can on my floor, try to work my muscles, keep my heart slightly tuned up without straining it. Because, you know, I'm a fat old man. I don't want to push my luck.
You keep saying that, and I keep saying you're not. You know, it hit you if you keep saying.
Well, you're older, so you know you can say that. Everybody else thinks I'm an old man.
No, but you're a very interesting old man, a young man, I would say. And what you've got, the experiences you've had are pretty awesome. And the other thing you said too that was interesting, beneath that fat that's still there, you know, part of a family thing, you know, underneath you have muscle, a lot of muscle.
Lots
there,
of
right?
it. If somebody were to punch me in the stomach,
bam, 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 bam.
It's
That's
in there.
The first time I hit a guest. Don't have him sue me, okay?
I tend to call it insulated muscle.
Insulated.
Insulated muscle.
Oh, okay. Wow, that is pretty
Well
awesome.
insulated everywhere. I mean, my neck is protected
Yeah.
from cold weather on the motorcycle with insulation.
Yeah.
I try not to call it fat.
That's one of the things that blew my mind too. You know, you're in a motorcycle. You know, supposedly old men don't ride motorcycles, but what the heck? For you, it's like secondhand. You know, driving a car. Motorcycles go. Let us see your pictures here. I'll get them. I'll get them for you.
You young limber guy here, you can bend.
Well, first, yeah, let's look at these pictures right now. This one is this gentleman here when he was a policeman about, what, 30 years ago or 40 years
That's
ago?
about 35 years
Anyway,
ago.
That's the man of the hour. And here is his motorcycle that he rides all the time. Can
That's
you see
me.
that all right?
That's me now, in the parking lot
Yeah,
of a
that's
funeral
him
home.
as he rides his motorcycle.
And
it's
with the
pretty-
helmet and the glasses, nobody knows I'm an old man.
Yeah. And to me, you're still not an old man, but we'll argue about that later. There's another picture, and here is his current picture. Tell us a little history on this. What's happened when you show this picture?
Well, I went over to Treasure Island about a year ago and discovered they have this really nice little restaurant out there. It's built out of old shipping containers, you know, truck bodies. And they built a beautiful modern restaurant. They have wonderful food and a view of the bay looking right out at the Golden Gate. And I was wearing, you know, the hat that says USS Coral Sea, and I had on a vest with the Police Association emblem on it. And the owner came over to me and said, "Are you a veteran, Navy veteran?" I said, "Yeah, I was stationed right here." I said, "Matter of fact, my barracks was right about here where your restaurant is." "Oh, can I take your picture?" So she took my picture, and it apparently went on Facebook, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
I got a lot of likes. I don't know what that's about. I'm not on Facebook. No, it wasn't Facebook. It was Instagram.
Oh,
Instagram, yes. So, but it was fun being out there.
Yeah.
And seeing the place that I lived for 3 weeks. When the Navy shipped me to California, I had orders to go aboard the aircraft carrier Coral Sea at Alameda. However, the Coral Sea was in Japan at the time. So they put me on Treasure Island for 3 weeks, waiting for the Coral Sea to come home.
Wow.
And when it did, they sent a bus, took me over to Alameda, and I went on this aircraft carrier. And it was late night, dark, and I started to walk up a gangplank, and a loud voice from the top said, "Hey, this is the officer's gangplank. Get off there." They said, "Yours is down there." Way down, almost out of sight, there was another gangplank. So I walked down there. That was the right one. And I showed them my orders, and they sent for somebody to take me to my compartment. And after he showed up, we stepped through a door into what looked to me like a warehouse. It's called the hangar deck. It's where all the airplanes are kept when they're not up on deck. It was huge. I had been on destroyers, little bitty ships back east. And here I'm in this giant warehouse-looking thing, and that was my ship. And I had to walk, 100 yards through this giant space to find my berthing compartment. And then I was the top bunk of 3, and we were all stacked in there. Modern Navy guys have much more people-friendly living accommodations, but back then it was pretty basic, primitive. And I found out later that the catapults that launched all the jets were right above our compartment. So if you've ever been right under a jet catapult, it goes very fast, and then it slams into a braking device and stops, but the plane keeps going, hopefully. And when you're right under that trying to sleep, and this bam,
All the noise.
bam, right, you don't sleep.
Yeah.
You don't sleep at all.
I can imagine, yeah. Well, you know, the things you're saying is so amazing, really, you know, about what happened. It's great when I have my show here, you know. People talk about all the stuff they do, but it's really enlightening to us, you know. Like Sergeant Sujoy here, Sarkar, head honcho here, he's we used to take pictures in Alameda when you guys talked beforehand here, and he was a photographer, and he went through all that. But that's kind of really interesting things that have happened there.
Interesting things do happen in life if you pursue them, if you want to do something. I always wanted to go to Europe before I got married, so I flew to Munich, picked up a brand new BMW motorcycle from the factory, and spent 3 weeks touring through the Alps by myself, but with a group of 49 other people, 49 other motorcycles. And they told you where your hotel would be that night, but during the day you were totally free to go anywhere, back and forth, up the mountains, down, explore villages and restaurants. But as long as you knew where the hotel was, your luggage would be loaded on a van each morning, and they'd take it to the next hotel and they'd wait for you. But I was so immensely pleased by the Alps. You got these huge mountains everywhere. And what they have in Europe that we can't come close to is, 1,000 years of visible history. We stayed in an 800-year-old castle in northern Italy. And the walls were like 5 feet thick stone. And the room was huge. And this Englishman on his motorcycle and I, we shared this room, and it was like 35 feet by 25 feet.
Wow.
And the owner told us that the place was 800 years old. And you get this feeling of history that we don't have. You want to see something really old in America, just go outside and pick up a rock. Say, see that rock? American, 1,000,000 years old. We don't have the kind of history they have. We don't have ancient castles and things. They got these old roads from the Romans, that the Romans built. And they're still there, the remnants, the Parthenon in Greece. They've got so much history, and it's really fascinating to travel in Europe. And one of the other things I noticed and enjoyed, when you're traveling Europe on a motorcycle, Europeans in cars consider that motorcycles have a right to be on the road. We get kind of pushed around in America. But over there, if they see a motorcycle coming, the cars will pull way over to the shoulder. And the cars coming the other way pull over and give you the middle of the road.
Wow.
And they're very polite and courteous. The first day, I picked up my brand new bike in Munich at the factory, and we wanted to go see downtown Munich. So I found a parking place, and I was about to, back the bike into the parking place, and suddenly there's this big policeman standing there, and he's saying, "Hey, nicht hier, dort!" He pointed to the sidewalk. He didn't want me to park in the street. He wanted me to get it up on the sidewalk so that the street space was left for cars. You park on a sidewalk around here, they'll tow you away. But in Europe, they want you on the sidewalk. But it's fascinating. In the old days, you had to show a passport and an insurance card at every border crossing. Now, under United Europe, you can just drive through, you pass a sign saying Belgium, Netherlands, Ireland. You pass the sign, there's nobody checking anything. They assume if you got on a plane, you probably have paperwork.
Well, that's interesting, but most of the traveling you did, you on your motorcycle.
Yes.
That's been your baby for 99?
Since 1955. That's when I got my first one. Matter of fact, I married my wife in 1971, and I took her to Europe for our honeymoon on a motorcycle.
Oh, really?
She and I arrived at the factory, picked up a brand new BMW, and spent the next 3 weeks going through the Alps. She loved it.
That's
loved it, so did I.
Yeah.
But it was great. The inns, the European inns, the bed and breakfasts, the Zimmers. I remember my first trip to Europe. I saw these signs all over in front of houses saying Zimmer, Zimmer. And at night, about the end of the first night, I was having dinner with my group. And I remember saying, I don't know who this guy Zimmer is, but he's going to win his election. Everybody's for him. And then somebody said, no, Zimmer means rooms, room available.
Zimmer.
It's a German word for room. I said, oh, all those houses you saw were like bed and breakfasts. They were offering a Zimmer. So you just pull in to any of these houses, and they give you a very nice room. They feed you dinner. You pay very little. They help me park in their own garage. It was just wonderful.
Well, Flying High, the name of my show here, is great because you are the person flying high, but you're flying on a motorcycle.
I love it, yeah.
And that's pretty awesome. And tell us a little bit more about other adventures, because, when you talk about these things, I can almost feel there, because you have the right words for it, and the enthusiasm is there with it. So it's not just somebody setting the story back here, you know. You're really getting into it with your heart, just your whole body. Tell us some more about some of the other exciting things. You're married and you had took your wife on a motorcycle honeymoon, I guess.
Yeah, we had honeymoon, and we're still married 47 and a half years later. I think I mentioned when I married my wife, she weighed 99 pounds, but after 47 years with me, she was ballooned up to 105. She was 5'2" when I married her. She's 5'1" now.
Oh,
but yeah, she's tolerated me all these years. She's a lovely woman.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't live without her. Couldn't do without her at all.
Hey, that's wonderful to hear. Because
I tell young people about marriage. I said, if you do it right, you only do it once.
Right.
And I did it right, and it's going to be my one and only for a lifetime.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, her happiness is a biggie in your life. You know, it's just like she's part of you. And as she lives her life and enjoys what she's going through, you're right there with her all the way. That's beautiful.
Yep. And she sent me off with a kiss this afternoon to come over here for this program, and she'll be waiting for me when I get home.
Yeah.
I know she will, because I've got her car.
I almost wish sometimes when you talk about her that she's an interesting person. We had her right here sitting there with us, you know, but...
she's shy. She wouldn't want to be on TV, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, well, I'd drag her in, you know, maybe. Because when you're flying high, that's our radio, television program, you're flying high, you know, and...
I try.
The things you've talked about put it really high, and I love what you've said.
Well, between a career as a police officer and a life on motorcycles, traveling across this country and all over Europe, it has been an exciting life. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
I like this idea of being retired. You stay home in bed all month, they still send you a paycheck.
Yeah. You can't beat that when you've got something you're doing you like, and by golly, that's your job. That's pretty awesome.
And every now and then, somebody will say, hey, you want to be on television? No, but I am. So this is fun.
Well, yeah, Flying High is a great station here at Chabot College, and we only got another minute left here, but I want to tell you about Flying High. We have different shows with different people coming in, and you're one of the more interesting people that we've had here, because I've had the mayor, I've had superintendents and so forth, and yours is a really exciting life that you had. Anything you want to add here at the final couple of minutes here?
I can't think of any brilliant words to say, except, as I said earlier, if you're going to get married, do it right the first time, and it will be your only time.
Yeah.
Treat everybody as you want to be treated. I used to teach rookie cops, treat every man as a gentleman, treat every woman as a lady until they prove themselves otherwise.
Yeah.
Then you got to do what you got to do. Policemen don't have to be tough and nasty. They have to be people who enjoy working with people. Yeah. And I did. I enjoyed every day, even when people came in and wanted to yell, scream, and complain about something.
Yeah.
You try to just stay cool.
Yeah. Well, you had a couple of words. I'd like to finish with that. You know, like when you die, you want to die in a way that...
Well, I said there's two ways to die. You can burn out or rust out. Rusting out is no fun. That means these people who just sit in the rocking chair and wait. Burning out means you've been doing something all your life, like getting on the floor and doing 1,000 sit-ups.
Yeah.
That's something that'll keep you going, keeps your heart tuned up, keeps your muscles somewhat in tune. Doesn't do a lot for the belly all the time, but you do the best you can. But yeah, that's the secret of life. Be happy, enjoy people, treat everybody the way you'd want to be treated, and ta-da, that's it.
And I like that, you know, instead of rusting out, you're burning out.
Yeah.
And burning is a good thing because you're doing with your fantastic exercise regime. And I do the same thing. Every day I exercise 7 days. But you're way above the numbers that you do for sit-ups and so forth. 1,000 of these, 500 of that. That's pretty awesome. And I want to say to everybody, it's been so great talking with you, my friend.
Thank you.
You have a lot of interesting things to live for still, you know.
Yes,
not
I do.
just here in the past, but you still have a lot of things to live for. So, we'll see you next week on flying high, way high. And thank you for being on our show, my friend.
My pleasure.